friends, our campaign, A Matter of Time, premieres tonight on YouTube at 6:45 Central Time, and we could not be more excited. We've been working on this campaign for over a year at this point, detailing the setting, fleshing out the characters, establishing the themes, preparing all that we can to bring you the best product possible at our amateur level. We've been playing the campaign for a number of weeks now. We're a little bit ahead of what you guys are going to be watching, but I really hope that you are excited for what we've put together. I know I am. I couldn't be happier with how the campaign has panned out so far. Before we began this adventure, I ran a short session, individually, with each of my players. Each took about 2 hours and was meant to allow them to roleplay their characters and figure out who they were before we played our first session, which we knew we were going to record and produce for the public to consume. Roleplaying a character for the first time can be stressful. The first time donning a character is often the hardest. You can make decisions that you later don't feel were right. You might play with the character voice a little bit. You are likely to forget what your core stats or abilities are, or at least take more time to read through your character sheet. Because of these reasons, and several more, I didn't want my players to be stressed about role-playing their character for the very first time and being watched by however many people. Because of that, you will not be seeing those session zeros. But what happened in those meetings between me and each of the characters is important to how their story begins and to many of the threads that have happened since. So, I would like to give you a brief synopsis of what happened in each of those one-on-one sessions, so you know how each of the characters is walking into our very first episode. I'm going to start with a brief recounting of their shared past and some new information about when and how they split apart. After that, we'll pick up with each of their individual sessions in chronological order, not the order that I played them in. That was just based on whose schedule worked out best with mine at the time. Anyways, each of these sessions were designed to get the characters to the same place at the same time so that we can start out our very first session with all of the characters reuniting for the first time in over a decade. Without further ado, let me regale you on how our heroes find themselves in the first episode of A Matter of Time. On the 13th of Kilmith in the year 1367, the world of Centering gathered to observe the Due Lunae, the celebrated celestial event that occurred every 3 years for as long as could be remembered, in which both moons are full in the sky. But in a shocking twist of fate that defies both science and magic, one of the moons failed to appear, and has not been seen since. Inspired by the events of this evening, a man adopted 4 newborn children and took them into his care, or lack thereof. He raised these 4 individuals inside the capital of the nation, far off, in a home known to its neighbors as the Reverie Estate. This patron did not take them in out of the goodness of his heart, but to train them as soldiers to fight an undisclosed enemy, his own personal force of skilled agents of knowledge and power. From their very beginnings, they were forced into strict and often brutal discipline regimens meant to highlight their talents, skills, strengths, and potential. 3 of the children proved to have arcane abilities, while 1 did not. Named after the first 4 numbers of the Draconic language, Alphaxion, Batalier, Gamake, and Deltamen lived childhoods of extreme curriculum and the most detailed education, with a focus on the recent history of their world. Overseen by their adoptive father and a series of instructors, each experts in their various fields, the children were taught war tactics, stealth and deception, brute strength, and dark magics. In time, the children grew disillusioned with their father's mysterious intentions and cruel methods. Even Deltamen, the most dedicated to their unknown purpose, had his world shattered one day when Batalier snuck into their father's office and stole his notes on the children. Crowded around their father's journals, the 4 of them discovered untold pages of predictable notes, detailing Alphaxion as a powerhouse of strength, Batalier as a master of deception, and Gamake as a clear favorite, detailing a clear understanding of the arcane with remarkable practical application. Meanwhile, the man had only written on Deltamen being a profound disappointment and horrendously without potential, and nothing more. This seemingly small event would change the trajectory of their lives, and soon they'd never be the same. Batalier was the first to leave, as he had done many times before. His attempts at running away were always thwarted by his own teacher, Dusk, dragging him back to the Reverie Estate. And through these attempts, the young man got better and better at staying hidden. After running away yet again shortly after turning 17, it soon became clear that no one was coming to retrieve him, and he stayed away. Alphaxian and Deltamen had always planned on joining the Golden Alliance's military when they turned 18, but when that time came, Deltamen had a change of heart, deciding he'd had enough training under authority figures and following the whims of others. He chose to be his own person, to chase his own path. The argument that followed between the two was explosive and hurtful, and they did not leave on good terms. Kamake found herself alone in the house with their apathetic father and the odd yet harmless housekeeper, Baruch. She continued her studies and self-directed her own training for a time until she too decided that it was time to move on. 10 years later, we find Deltamen on the other side of the continent, in the city-state of Sira Altinin, now going by the name Thomas. He sits quietly, patiently, in the family home of his boyfriend, a man named Sylvester, but more commonly referred to as Hatchet. Sylvester is a member of the notorious crime family, the Blades of Altinin, who control large amounts of the city and surrounding area, and the two of them have been summoned before Sylvester's father, the Great Sword. This patriarch tells Thomas that his work in various jobs for the Blades has been satisfactory, and now he has the chance to prove himself and officially become a part of the organization, welcoming Thomas into his family, in more ways than one. The Great Sword explains that Thomas must only help Hatchet with one simple task, and then he'll be a full member of the Blades. Thomas agrees enthusiastically. Before the two set out, the Greatsword gives Thomas two gifts. First, his own personal pocket watch, a family heirloom and jealously desired by Sylvester, meant only as a loan for the evening so that the two do not lose track of time. Second, Thomas is given a yanagiba, a long knife meant for slicing, filleting, and skinning fish. This is to be Thomas's name when officially inducted into the family. The entire interaction is observed by Hatchet and his sister, heir to the family business, known only as the Katana. The two lovers embark on their mission, where Sylvester leads them to an underground fine dining establishment in the city. The head chef here is a man that Sylvester refers only to as Cleaver, indicating his role in the Blades. Over the course of plenty of drinks and a dinner of black market entrees, including the tail of a merperson, the two discuss their future together, planning on expanding the Blades into the nearby Bizarre Archipelago, where they can live a tropical and carefree lifestyle. Finally, once their dinner is through, they are led by Cleaver through the kitchens into a back room. Here sits a man Thomas knows as Scissors, a low-level runner for the Blades who was rumored to be skimming some of the product off the top and selling it for his own profit. The man was caught trying to flee the city, and Hatchet shows Thomas the sky vessel ticket he had purchased for dawn the very next day, a one-way ticket to Faroth. Scissors has obviously been through an extensive amount of torture already, and now it is simply up to Thomas to finish the job, to kill Scissors and take his place amongst the Blades. Thomas, however, is unable to perform the act, and instead subdues Hatchet and releases Scissors, forcing them both to flee. Thomas, panicked and heartbroken at the loss of the future he and Sylvester had dreamed of, finds himself alone in the streets of Sira Altinin, unknowingly observed by the Katana all the while. When he finds the ticket to Faroth in his pocket, he knows the one man he can rely on to help him disappear, and heads to the sky vessel docks. Some days later, in the Black Mountains that border the Golden Alliance, Alphaxian, now known as Penth, is working in the Valley of Pharaohs, an archaeological treasure trove of Orcan tombs. He, along with his career partner and friend Elsbeth, and several other team members, are studying the tomb of Aset-Nesemontep, fourth pharaoh of the 7th dynasty. Penth and Elspeth argue about her insistence of only studying the exterior of the tomb, due to its many booby traps and unpredictable structural integrity. Penth is firm in his belief that they will learn more inside the temple, not sharing the fact that in his own travels he has come upon a looted treasure that had belonged to the pharaoh, and he hopes to return it to her final resting place. Their argument is settled when a sky vessel arrives, bringing with it Lord Willard Pullman, a foppish academic and wealthy aristocrat who is financing their dig in hopes they'll find evidence that supports his theory of the pharaoh Aset-Nesemontep having arcane talents. The Lord Pullman is insistent that they do explore the tomb, threatening that if they won't, he'll find people who will. Her hands tied, Elspeth begrudgingly follows Penth into the gravesite. Within the secluded, hieroglyph-lined hallways of the tomb, Penth feels comfortable using his own arcane abilities to create light in front of Elsbeth, though she does express a discomfort with the magic. They are faced with several traps and an intricate puzzle, but in the end, Penth is able to return the artifact to its rightful place amongst the sarcophagus. They exit the tomb and inform the Lord Willard Pullman that they did not find any evidence to support his theory. The man, who Elsbeth had described to Penth as having more money than brains, does notice that the pair brought no torches with them into the tomb, and remarks upon that oddity, implying a recognition for Penth's talents. It is at this time that one of Pullman's servants arrives from within his personal sky vessel, having just received a telegram, addressed to Penth. The message states only that the time has come for me to reveal your purpose. It is not signed, but the Goliath knows who it is from. Penth is able to convince the Lord Pullman to give them passage on his sky vessel back to the capital, so that they may discuss further expeditions, and they begin their journey to the city our heroes used to call home. Within Feroth a few days later, Skia, formerly known as Gamake, wakes in the late afternoon and prepares himself for another evening shift as a nurse in the burn ward of the local hospital, Veterans Memorial. As they prepare their coffee, they see the telegram machine sitting next to a case of Pax Tonic, with a message incoming that reads, "Our client needs more green. Procure and bring to the drop." Once at work, a busy shift of healing and helping can truly begin. Amongst it all, Skia commiserates with a fellow employee, Shell, who's feeling tired, overworked, and burnt out. Shell is complaining about an order she counted in on her previous shift, which included 6 unopened crates of Pax Tonic, while upper management complains of an incomplete delivery. Shell wonders if her exhaustion has played a role in her ability to do her job well, and fears that she'll be fired for any further mistakes. Skia offers their support and volunteers to check in the shipment of Vathesian seaweed scheduled to arrive during the night shift, to which Shell is grateful. Skia later deals with an emergency patient who is rushed in with incredible electrical burns, a fellow nurse saying that he got the wrong end of a negotiator baton. Skia and their team is able to effectively stabilize the victim, who in their delirious state can only mutter something about an accident. They didn't mean to. Later, Skia is called into the office of their superior, Dr. Edwina Orpalm, the hospital director, who questions them about the disappearing shipments of various drugs and tonics. Shell's name is brought up, but Skia is insistent that they know nothing about the missing medical supplies. Without anything further to discuss, Skia leaves. Later, after her shift in the early dawn hours, Skia goes to a local bar that is known favorite amongst people who support the Industrialist Political Party, an establishment known as the Saber Drop. Here, she meets up with a contact that she knows as Cooper Branch, and passes along to him a bag of recently acquired Vathesian seaweed. Their exchange is interrupted when a pair of negotiators enters. These officers are agents of the Workforce of Arcanus Protection and Surveillance, or WASP, a government agency established after the Sorcerer's Civil War with the intention of helping magic users understand, control, and best use their talents. Negotiators are a more recent addition to the agency, a task force established just 3 years ago in order to find and apprehend Arcanists who refuse to register their abilities. Known for their brute force and violent tactics, these 2 soldiers make everyone in the drop uncomfortable, but don't stay long. Before Skia can call it a night, the bartender delivers a telegram for Skia, simply reading, "The time has come for me to reveal your purpose." Understanding the summons from their father, Skia goes to get a night of rest. That same night, star of the stage and screen, Aspen Echoes arrives with his friend and director, Forge Tukis, at the same street he grew up on as Battalier. Now he is a guest at the home of Zachariah Vandalert, rail tycoon and one of the world's richest men. The Vandalairs are throwing a party to celebrate the successful match and forthcoming arranged marriage of their grandson with another of the city's elites, as well as to bring together some of the more wealthy of Feroth to discuss the future of the Industrialist Party. Aspen is hounded at the party by all sorts of people, hoping to use his recent celebrity status to further their own goals. Amongst them is Dr. Edwina Ormpalm, asking if he'll do a charity event. Yenal of the Evergreen, an elven politician and outspoken opponent to the proposal to build a railway through her people's sacred lands, hoping Aspen will speak for her cause. Lastly is Christian Payne, head of the School of the Prodigal Son, a new religion spreading through the city, who would like Aspen to publicly take an interest in his church. Through all of these conversations, Aspen navigates his way with charm and respect, without giving solid answers to any of the suitors. Soon after Aspen has arrived, so does a man by the name of Bervin Castree, bearing with him a bouquet of fresh flowers. Aspen observes the gift in all of its fine details, made up of beautiful bunches of both purple bittersweet nightshade and small bright yellow fennel flowers in a porcelain vase, around which deep red camellia flowers make a striking border. Just underneath them, the vase is tied with a fragile lace bow, which holds a single stem of tarragon in place. Deciphering this coded message and later speaking with Castree for further details, Aspen understands his assignment for the evening. He dedicates the rest of his time to introducing himself to the introverted and beautiful Hippolyta Romancet, Vice Chief Sovereign of the Golden Alliance, the eyes and ears of their country's leader. The two hit it off, flirting and teasing until the party is interrupted by a pair of negotiators looking for Aspen Echoes. Without warrant or reason, they take him away, binding him in cuffs meant to restrict magic users and covering his face, until he is brought to an interrogation room at their headquarters. Here, he is questioned ruthlessly about his arcane abilities, but the negotiators have no proof of his talents.
Aspen is confronted with the head of negotiators herself, Commandant Helena Calathi, but remains firm under her scrutiny. Many hours held without comfort pass until Aspen is released, much to the chagrin of the WASP agents, who only complain, "You have friends in high places." On his way walking home in the dawn hours of the morning, Aspen finds a note in his pocket in his father's hand. "The time has come for me to reveal your purpose." Rolling his eyes at the dramatics, Aspen finds his way to his penthouse, hoping to get a few hours of sleep before following up on his father's intentions.
And there you have it. That's what happened in each of the Session Zeros, hurtling each of our players towards their very first session, which you get to watch in just a few hours. Thank you for watching, friends of Center Ring. Please tell everyone about our show. Tune in tonight, and I'll see you in a matter of time.